Bafethu, welcome to another episode of Uthando Lebola. Actually, this is the third episode of season 1, and I'm quite happy that the journey is still continuing. You guys are liking, subscribing, and giving a comment. I think the comments are the most amazing things, and you guys behind the scene also motivating me. It's incredible, and the suggestions of the guests that you guys are bringing and coming up with, it's incredible, and I'll make sure that I bring those people so that we can discuss, have a conversation, and yeah. And talking about the guest that's actually coming today, it's someone that I am very close with. I have been with her for a couple of years. We've done campaigns together. We've been in the sport industry. I've learned a lot as well, And she's very kind, very sweet, and she managed to come to Uthando Lebola and just tell us about her dimension, what's really happening, what's fascinating her. So yeah, she's a sports analyst. That's the first thing that I caught up with. She's a sports content creator, the social media. I've worked with her in that industry, and she's very good. She's a motivational speaker as well. She's an athlete agent, and she's a sports advocate for women in sports. And she's finally here. Her name is Jessica Nkomo. Most of the people, they know you as Aunty Diski.
Yes, yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Finally. From the
Finally.
football streets and the campaigns, and now we are sitting here.
Now we're sitting here.
This
and
is
we're discussing
amazing.
what we love.
Yes,
and
exactly.
What we've seen. And yeah, it's an incredible thing. How are you feeling? And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I think it's the beginning of the season. As you know, Hollywood Bates League is going to kick off in the middle of March. So it's that time, transfers, clearances, salary negotiations. Are we staying? Are we leaving? So I think for most agents who are in the women's sports space in South Africa, it is that busy time. So it's a little bit overwhelming. But hey, chop.
Yeah. And you're doing it absolutely well. Hey, and yeah, from my side, seeing you outside, it's just incredible work, man. You're always busy, always there and there, and it's so inspiring, man. So that's why I wanted to bring you here. I just want to know Aunty Diski. A lot of people know you as Aunty Diski.
Yeah. What is it, that question? I need to put it on my bio, just pin it on my bio, so when everybody asks. But Aunty Diski, I think it's self-explanatory. I have this motherly love, like this sisterly, auntyly love to especially a lot of my athletes, my friends, and that kind of thing. And I used to be called a lot of names on social media. I was Bugs Bunny, I was Bugs Diva, I was this and that. And then I transitioned into a brand in my football space. And I just needed to have a name that kind of makes sense and is very authentic to the kind of work that I do. So before I was Aunty Diski, I was Auntie Screw, because my nephews and nieces used to say like, but I dress like them, like a kid. So I was like, okay, well, let's go with it, But then it didn't really align with the work that I do. Okay. So I figured, why not Diski? Because that's kind of like my DNA. Okay. And then I just removed the screw and I put it as Diski. And a lot of people used to call me Diski, just Diski, before anything in the football spaces when I used to go to the stadium and all of that. My security coach at them, like everywhere where I stay, they'll be like, Diski. So I was like, well, it makes sense. So Aunty Diski was born like that.
Pretty good name, because now when I first knew about you, I didn't even know about your name. I just caught up with like Aunty Diski. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. This is actually a nice name.
Yeah.
And it gives you that. Because Zulu CB's which is tunes, because Aunty Diski, okay, the work that you're doing, the people that you're involved with, already just builds this brand.
It really does. Yeah. And I remember getting a TikTok campaign, and I asked the lady, like, how did you find me? She's like, well, first of all, we typed the name Diski on TikTok, and we were trying to find the hashtag what's happening, and your profile appeared at the top as Aunty Diski. We're like, oh, well, this is interesting, let's look. And we saw your content was exactly what we were looking for the person we wanted to have on this campaign. And I was like, well, the name is working to my advantage, and I'm gonna keep it like that.
Very nice. And then talking about your name and Diski, I just want to go back at where you started. From Utswakai, where you're from, and why did you fall in love with this thing called football? And where you from originally, Utswakai?
So Makayeng, because I was born, bred in Fourways, went to creche go Fourways, primary go Fourways, high school go Fourways. I still live in Fourways. So I've never left Fourways, but go Makhayeng ke Mokopane, go Limpopo. Yes. That's where my parents are from. Obviously, I visit home here and there. But I grew up in Fourways, grew up with my mom and my dad. And then my mom moved and went to go live where she worked. So I stayed with my dad. And my dad was the person that really introduced me into the sports space. He loved football. I think when I came to the age of being conscious about my surroundings and things that were happening, Niki posted Tsabo John Muyedi, Tsabo Lucas Hadebe, Dr. Kumalo in the house. And then I would ask my dad, Mama, and he used to buy the paper. My dad was literally the biggest supporter of Boladuma and all these newspapers. And I would like read with him from interest and stuff like that. And he never went to games, funny enough. He would just watch Kochai. And, I always had that, feeling that I want to go to the stadium. I want to see whatever I'm seeing on TV, I want to see it there. But next I think I went to the stadium for the first time. I was 19. It was even after high school, late after high school, but I've always had the interest from my dad. He would watch cricket, he would watch this, but I gravitated more towards football than anything. And that's where the passion grew. And as I grew older, that's when the women in sports space started coming through, because now I made friends in this industry who were girls and who were boys, but the challenges that they were facing were different. So I was like, I think this is my niche. I want to work in this part. But that's where the passion came from. My dad was the guy, and I lost him 3 years ago. And I keep saying that, he didn't see my big break. Like, he didn't see me transition into the space of football that, he basically ignited. He would have loved to see me, commentate on a game. He would have loved to see what I do at Mamelodi Sundowns. He would have loved to see what I do with the athletes, but he's not there. But he's the guy that really put me on.
You know what? That is actually a great story. And believe in me, he's seeing whatever that you're doing.
I believe so.
Yeah, and he's working with, because, wow, the things that you're doing in sport. And talking about how you came, and then, funny enough, while I was making research about you, you said you've never really played football, like playing it.
Never. Can't even kick a ball till today.
Yeah. So now you moving into this football that you don't play much, but you're having the love of it, and you can see that you're growing. How did you find a thing of being in it? And Nkomo umanyana, and then it might be the challenges, kokasi and everything, walking around, and now you are a fan of football. 100%. And how did you cope with it? Being with girls and so forth.
So I think you mentioned it, fan. That's how I came into that sport. I was a big fan. Hooligan at times, you know how fans we are, very emotional, very passionate, very aggressive at times. And I think that's when I tapped into the space. I was very vocal about my love for football, and I think it stands out as a woman because there's this stigma or stereotype, perhaps, that women are really not into football and they're not football supporters and that kind of thing. So even if you look now, there's quite a few of us who are very vocal and very big in terms of our support as women. So I think that's what stood out. And this was a couple of years ago, because now there's more of us. But I think back in the days when I really tapped into that space, it was a few of us. So it was easy to notice me and that kind of thing. And there were, Twitter branches, there were physical branches of different clubs and so forth. And I remember being elected as the Twitter branch chair lady. And that's where everything just basically, blew up for me. The social media started growing, the engagement started growing, the talkability started growing. And then I was like, hey, wait, actually, I think this space is receiving me quite well now. This was at the beginning. And I was like, I think the space is receiving me quite well, and I'm passionate about this. I know I don't know how to kick a ball, but I love to study the game. I love to learn about it. I love understanding, and I love actually hanging out with athletes. So I was like, well, I feel like this is my space, and everything just transitioned from that, getting ideas. Because you start as a fan, you just start loving football and you're watching it. But then you get to a point where you're like, how can I materialize this? How could probably I generate revenue? How could I make this a career move? And you knock and doors don't open, and you knock and doors don't open. you have connections, but they don't really facilitate into anything. I knew a couple of players, I knew a couple of coaches and that kind of thing. And I felt like, maybe this will get me somewhere, knowing them, but it wasn't enough, And I remember listening to somebody, I can't remember who this person was, but they were like, and if I'm not mistaken, it possibly could have been Ngobile Gama. And she mentioned how, sitting and waiting for opportunities and knocking is not enough. Sometimes you have to do something until you are recognized. And I started a podcast that never went anywhere. Okay. Came up with the name, had the first episode with Kaylan Swart and Andy Ledlamini, literally comfortable setup like this, and we started speaking about football, and the objective of it was to bring the players closer to the game. And unfortunately, without doing a lot of research and doing a lot of understanding of how the industry can receive you and maybe having long-term goals, you will stumble. And at that time, I was excited and I was like, I'm ready to do this. And then I flopped, So I had to go back to the drawing board and find other ways of how I can branch out and become a brand that's very visible and that's noticed. And that's when we had Twitter Spaces, and I was like, that's my go-to now. Yeah.
I did the most on Twitter Street. I remember when I joined the Twitter Street as well in the football industry.
Yeah.
Because I get on a footy Twitter. Yeah. And then there's this black Twitter and other stuff. So when I go into footy Twitter, I would know, okay, these are the certain people that you get updates from, just certain people that, and you've been advocating, hence you are talking about women, how you also came into the women's space of football. You've been advocating for them. I was like, who is she? Up until I met you, I was like, oh, this is you. And I met you. When I met you, my father told me, man, I met this lady. And she told me they were from Twitter. And from there, I was like, wow, this is a small world. And
we were doing a commercial together, actually. And we were taking photos.
It was a commission.
I know your son.
And he sent me pictures, and I was like, wow, it might have been an amazing experience that you've also got there as well. So now, I want to know what has been your biggest failure and what did you learn from this thing that you're doing? In the sport thing.
I don't think I've experienced failure as yet. I've experienced challenges for sure. And in different parts of my career, whether it comes from the agency's perspective, whether it comes from my individual, career as a broadcaster, as a sports analyst, I've received challenges. However, I don't think I've hit that wall yet to say I have failed. I just keep trying. Like, I'm so persistent in everything that I do. If you speak to people that went to high school with me, they'll tell you that, bro, you've been at the sports thing for long. And it's great to see you that you've branched out. So I never take no for an answer. And a lot of people think I have all these amazing qualifications and all these, accolades and all of that. And I'm just like, guys, sometimes mulomo wa go buella in everything that you do. I've made it a mission that when I engage with somebody for the first time, I will make it a point that they remember me for as long as they need to, and I leave a mark. So with every challenge I've been faced with, I've just basically gone back to, the drawing board and to figure out how I can sustain myself. I mean, some of the challenges would be when I came out into the sports space, especially the women's sports space. There were a couple of people that received me with so much love, with so much support, so much encouragement to say, wow, first agency, only agency in South Africa representing women's sports. We haven't seen this ever. We've got so many agents and agencies, but they focus more on men. Not to say some females didn't have agents, but one that specifically just was tailor-made for women. So I had the love, and I appreciate those sisters and everybody else who basically supported me. However, there was another part that didn't receive me well. It was a thing of nobody knew me, Cellular, besides people that were football fans. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just came out of nowhere, to be quite honest. Because I had research, learning, boom. and I'm there. Like, it still took time for me to digest that, wow, I'm here, you know, like all my hard work I've been putting. It's almost like you pray for something, you don't pray for how to actually navigate around it when you receive. So there was a lot of backlash in terms of negative comments as to, ke mang yena o? We think a polo, like, azanga raga polo, azanga dlale ne diski, asmazi, you know, we have vumbu kanje. Was nama player. Yeah, it was another thing, you know, was nama player, you know, and there was so much negative comments that some of my players would even bring back to me that they heard from other people that interact with me, because that's another down part. It's like we have so much of this fake caring and fake love in these spaces that people will say this to your face and be kind and be nice, but behind your back they're saying something else. So I experienced a lot of that, but I think I had to have thick skin and understand that not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. You just have to finish your mission, focus on your goals and that kind of thing. And, you know, the girls at the agency were like, just continue. They don't know what you're doing behind the scenes for us. So hopefully that is enough for you to stay in the game and block out the negativity, you know. Coming into the sports space where you're a sports analyst, you know, most of these people that sit on these tables are ex-players, people who have vast experience and vast knowledge in football. They can tell you a game in 90 minutes just by waking up, you know, in their sleep. And with me, you have to study, you have to research, you have to watch the match, you have to actually listen at other people's opinions to see if yours could be verified within what they have said and that kind of thing. So it was always a thing, people are opening their eyes, what can you deliver? And you're always trading on ice because you don't want to make a mistake, you know. And we know it's a male-dominated space, right? So there's not a lot of football analysts that are women. So it's like you make a mistake, it's over. Like you know you are representing a large number of women. You make a mistake, it makes it look bad for the rest of everybody. So there's that pressure to make sure that your statistics are correct. You know exactly what you're doing. And we are all learning, right? I don't come with the experience of being a player and knowing certain technical, you know, jargon of, you know, what happens on the field as a player would, because this is their life. So in the event that there's a bit of a slip up, it's over for me. So you're constantly faced with the harsh comments of you not knowing what you're talking about, or some will be like, you're doing well. There's always just that negativity and positivity that you just have to balance, you know. Financial challenges when it comes to the agency that a lot of people don't know. You know, for the first 2 years of the agency when it was implemented, probably was the only agent that wasn't deducting anything from the players. When you sign with an agent, you know you're going to be paying a specific fee, whatever it may be, for the work that the agent does. But I'm looking at the market that I'm working in. I'm working in a market that has people that don't get paid, but they play. What am I honestly going to be taking? If a player is earning 2,000 Rand a month, what cut am I going to take actually from 2,000 Rand? And somebody might say, 100 Rand is also something. That 100 Rand is a lot for that particular player when you take it out of that 2,000 Rand. So it had to be a thing of just doing it for the passion and making sure that these girls are well represented and you can help however they are. But then I suffer on the pocket, you know, because it's my money that has to go to these games, petrol,
run the business,
the soccer boots. Manager, I cannot go training. I can't have a player not go to training because that player is going to be affected by game time. And if you're affected by game time, I don't have footage of you. I can't take you to another club. You get what I'm saying? So I need to ensure that you're training. So I need to take it from my own pocket. The agency consists of 7 staff members, you know, from social media perspective, legal perspective, operations perspective. Those people also need something in their pockets to work. Where is it coming from? If we're not charging players, it's coming from my own pockets. So I have to make sure that I go get this job, go do that gig, secure that campaign, do this and that, so that we can have a little bit of income to share amongst us, to make sure that we are sending the profiles, we are pulling the footage that they need in videos. People are training. You have soccer boots. That's mandatory. You can't have a player and not have soccer boots. It affects your performance on the field, you know. So the financial challenge, and people think, oh, you've got money. She's an agent. She's got an agency. She's got all these athletes. She must be coining it. Not really coining it. It's from my own pocket. So I think that has been the biggest challenge in getting the business up, and you already know corporates are not really on board in terms of powering, houses that are supporting women in sports. And we talk about this all the time. There's a corporate that could come on board and say, I want to fuel this agency because it's giving back to the girls that are representing us. It'll be something, So I think it's just one of those things that passion wins over anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. You know what? I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is what's happening behind the scene. Wow. That's it. And it's absolutely true when you say people are just looking at you and they're reading and be like, okay, the female that has started the agency for women's thing, the only, and they're looking at your pictures, your Instagram, it's and they don't know what's happening behind the scene. And guys, this is what's happening behind the scene. And to establish something as big as this, and when I go to Google, that's the first thing that appears. Nkomo as the first lady that has opened an agency for women's. I understand, and I'm reading it and I'm like, wow, wow, and I just want to tell you, with all the problems and the challenges that you have, just continue, just 100%. build that brand, just 100%. Give back to the community, just bring the right energies 100%. Alongside yourself, and make sure these girls are being spotted, because and it's exactly what I wanted you to come here to learn about these things, because we often talk about these things with my friends. I'm sitting and I'm like, do even women support the women? Like Banyana. Yeah. There was a tournament, the World Cup, FIFA World Cup, and I was talking to my sister. I'm like, how many games did you watch? How many players did you know? Yeah. Do you get the point? Do you support the girls? So I want to know about regarding that one. The women in sports, you spoke about how they speak behind your scene and everything. Yeah. So I want to know how has been that dealing with women in sport, the challenges of the soccer players themselves. Yeah. What has been the biggest challenge regarding that one?
There's many challenges, but just going back to what you said about, keep going. I was talking to my boss, Christopher Bongo. I'm sure you know him. From the show that I do at Foot Afrique, and he was saying to me, with all the challenges that you're facing financially, look at this as you investing in the players. Don't focus on the money. It's gonna come. You're investing in them. You're guiding them. You're helping them wherever they can. In 5 years' time, when they sign contracts overseas or wherever they can with bigger salaries, they'll give back. And I think, for me, that's what I want to do, and I hope that anyone who's listening to this and wants to do a bit of sharing in terms of helping, every time when somebody asks me about advice of how to step into the space, I'm like, number one, do it for the passion before you do it for the money. If you want the money, go to the main side. Here, there's no money. Here, you're doing it for passion. And you're talking about the challenges that these women face. And for me, it's always a very painful and a very emotional conversation for me to have, because people see only the good things on the outside when we're celebrating victories and we're celebrating wins, and these athletes are looking amazing on Instagram and everything, but nobody actually knows what's happening behind the scenes. They've got so much to take on. Firstly, you're a female that's playing women's football, which in our culture, in African culture, women's football is not something that's really celebrated. We are in a country that has one of the best leagues, football leagues in Africa, yet we don't have a professional league. So that goes to tell you how our culture actually feels about taking women's football seriously. A home that's really not stable in terms of finances, we are not well off, right? So how long as you grow up, and you're going to bring in a little bit of income to help the household. We're not utamika bolo. Do you know what I'm saying? Already you have that backlash from kohae. Why also mmereko o normal utlise chelete ko ntlong o lo tshameka bolo ya teng ha e tlise le madi. So you're already facing that challenge. You are part of the LGBTQ community, because we need to be honest about that. Some of our girls do fall under that community. So you've already got some sort of hate from that part, you know,
Society.
from the society, you can't wear a specific outfit, you can't walk a specific way, you cannot disclose your personal life and that kind of thing. Grounding, there is some sort of toxicity within the club that you now have to face, either being players not getting along with you, the coach not getting along with you. There's always some sort of challenge, you know, that can come out. So, Cellular, do you see all these issues that I'm talking about? And this is one person that has to go through this, you know.
Before even kicking the
before
ball.
even kicking the ball,
yeah.
just for existing as a woman who plays football, you're already having to try and overcome these things before lebele illa, you know. And then you play, you find a club, you're passionate about this, and you're talented, like you do the most, you know, on the football field, yet you don't get reimbursed or compensated for that, right? And there's a lot of things we need to look at. We can't just blame clubs, because clubs are putting in the platform to say, we're going to do this. We're going to give you the platform. You're going to play on Hollywood Bets. We're going to give you the eyeball and all of that. But the money that they're also getting is also from one sponsor, which we know is Hollywood Bets. Hollywood Bets is obviously trying the best that they can. I'm sure if they could, you know, they probably would give a bigger grant, you know, like a 2 million or 3 million grant, you know, and there's a perception that people have that whatever the boys are getting, the girls are getting, it's far different, close to nothing. If you're looking at the overhead running of a club, you've got flights, you've got accommodation that you need to look at, you've got to pay technical stuff, you have to pay the athletes. For clubs that have clubhouses, you have to be paying rent for the clubhouses, for food and all of that. So all of that money that is given as a grant is also not enough. So the club is trying, the head sponsor is also trying, but that's it. You know, we don't have any other corporates that are coming on board. You know, Sasol is one sponsor that came on board long time ago before it was fashionable to actually sponsor women's football. You know, Momentum is coming through for the Proteas. And we've got Telkom coming through for the netball girls, which is something. But imagine if we had 2 or 3 more sponsors that had to give revenue into that league and support the association, would have better, you know, results. You know, would have a more competitive league. I can guarantee you now, a team like my Indies or First Touch or Copper Belts, my Indies is relegated now, but I'll name Copper Belts and First Touch. They're teams from Limpopo. If we had corporates or investors investing in a team for money, and everybody was on a minimum salary wage of about 20,000 rand a player, Roda Mlauzi, Lebogang Ramalepe, Asa, Regina, Madembe Chikumbu, I can name you a starting 11, a strong starting 11 that could probably play for those teams in Limpopo where they come from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not everyone will gravitate towards the Joburg teams and leave home. You know what I'm saying? Some girls have to travel home once a year to see their families, not by choice, but because the funds are not there. And we're all going to play for the teams in Joburg because those are the ones that give us salaries. However, if every team was giving us a decent enough amount of money, we would probably play Kompumalanga. Thunderbirds would have their players there. Richmond United would have, you know, stronger players in their team as well, because now it's a fair share. However, hakuna madi, and that is the first problem when it comes to women's football. Some teams don't even pay at all. Like a stipend this is 1,000 rand that they don't pay. So you just playing for playing. And I understand perhaps they're just using the funds to pay for the overheads that they need to make ends meet. But it's not fair on the player regardless, that you're going to be playing, you're training 3 to 4 times in a week. You've got a game either on Saturday and Sunday. That's your whole life. That's your whole week gone. But you don't have anything to support you. And let's look at our senior players. They have to pay rent, you have to pay for your car, you've got other responsibilities at home, you're a breadwinner and so forth. So it's exhausting having this conversation every single year to say something's got to give, something has to happen. The only hope is sending our players overseas so that they play in a team that they're probably not happy about, go through challenges of racism, culture shock, and all these things just so that they can get paid. You know, when we have stadiums here, when we have the facilities, when we have the infrastructure, you know, to make them stay at home. So that's just one of the challenges. And the treatment in the teams, from technical teams on some clubs, is another challenge. There's so many of them cellular, but I just think that it needs to give. Something's got to give somewhere. And that's why it's always emotional for me, because when I get DMs and tweets and inboxes from different players who I don't represent, you know, and they telling me about their stories and their voice notes, because I'm just like, how? You know, like, medically, we're not looked after. You know, when a player gets injured, there's only 2 clubs in the Hollywood Beds. If something happens to you on the field, you know that you'll be well taken care of. Rehabilitation, hospitalization, tests, and. Survival of the fittest. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair. You know, so we need to professionalize the league. We need to have some sort of fair revenue for these girls, because it doesn't make sense for us to celebrate them coming out top 16, you know, hosting the Netball World Cup. We are wearing our regalia, we're celebrating these girls, but still they are going back to their shacks.
Yeah.
They're still going back to no bread. Like, make it make sense, you know what I'm saying? And I understand we cannot have the equal pay now, because men's football started way longer than women's football. It's got more eyeball, there's more ROI for them, but something, you know.
You brought an interesting thing that I think I didn't prepare enough, but I think you talking about it has made me to ask this question. And it always comes up when there's tournaments. You spoke about men. Okay, well, recently they just did well.
Yeah.
They finished so far.
Yes, third place.
After Solia.
Yes.
Congratulations to them.
100%.
That's what we want. But before that, people used to complain that, okay, they are getting these funds, they are getting these bonuses, then women are not getting them. Okay, let me not say they're not getting them. They might have been getting them or not, but they are reaching as far. So now I want to ask, why then they are not getting an equal payment? I know you've mentioned the history. Okay, let's just put it aside.
Yeah.
But here are people that are performing every time when we know they're playing in a tournament. It might be AFCON.
Yeah.
It might even be Sundowns getting really far. It might be the World Cup, might be even the Olympics. I mean, the Olympics, I know they are not always disappointing, always there. But when it comes to the tournament, they're not getting paid. So what is the solution towards that? As me, as a person that does not understand the administration.
Yes, part of it.
Yeah, but in a football perspective, he's looking at something like this and be like, okay, these people are doing well, but they're not getting funded well. While these ones, they are not quite doing well, but they are being funded, they are being given these bonuses and so forth.
So you're asking a question that I would be asking, but when it comes to the comparison and ladies not getting what they should be getting and what they don't deserve, there's so many people that have blood on their hands when it comes to doing right by these women. So many people. We're not going to mention names because I feel like people know they're conscious. You know, they know what they have done, what roles they have done or played in not doing anything to make sure that these girls are taken care of. But I think what needs to be done, what I believe needs to be done, like as I mentioned, corporates need to come on board. Supporters need to come on board. We can't sit here and ask for corporate to sponsor these girls when the stadiums are empty. Like, I go to 90% of the games. The games that I would miss would be away games that are happening at UWC, at the R, or in Limpopo. But if it's a home game here in Joburg or anywhere close by, I will always make sure that I attend. And every time I go and attend, it's a shocking number of attendees. You know, if you look at the number of people making noise on social media for women in sports, it doesn't... It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But when you get to the stadium, it's like only 20 of us. You know what I'm saying? So which corporate is right in their mind who only works on an ROI model would say, I'm going to sponsor this team or I'm going to sponsor this league when nobody actually even watches the sports, you know? So a few of us is not enough. So we need to take accountability as supporters, as cellular, as Jessica to say that we need to show up for the girls just as much as we want the corporate companies to also show up for the girls. We need to attend the games. Most of these games, you don't even pay. Like an entrance fee. It's for free.
I can testify for that,
Yeah.
guys. But Banyana games are mostly for free.
100%. Banyana, JVW, Sundowns, or all these games, go Lucas Muripe. It's not far. People in Pretoria can go to the games. It's a walking distance. And I like the stadiums. Go Orlando Stadium or Lucas Muripe. Let me say Lucas Muripe because that's a good example in sense of club level. That's a home stadium for Mamelodi Sundowns. That's a walking distance. You don't even need to be paying anything for taxi because I understand the demographics. To take a taxi, you don't have traveling money to go to Star Rock Park or to UJ Soweto to go watch a match. Might be a little bit difficult. But if it's a walking distance, let's go support the girls physically, not just on social media. Once we start filling up the stadiums, SABC will also find interest in broadcasting the matches because that's another thing for them. They have a target of viewership numbers. That's how they make money. Okay. SABC is not going to sponsor a game or broadcast a game that's got two people. It's two teams, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So once we start filling up these stadiums and showing up for the girls, SABC also finds interest in actually broadcasting these games. Now we don't only have one game on Sunday, we have a couple of games, even a midweek game, you know what I'm saying? And now we have a sponsor that says, listen, it's an opportunity for me to actually see my brand on the shoulder or something every Sunday or every Saturday. Sure. Let me put in a little bit of money. You know what I'm saying? It's like Nike, Adidas, Puma, Under Armour, whoever wants to sponsor a player. You're not going to see your boots. You're playing in a league where I can't see you. You're just going to post on social media. You know what I'm saying? But they're happy when it's World Cup because the rest of the world is watching you in that nice pink, orange, green boots that's sponsored by this and this. You know what I'm saying? So they need eyeball on their product as well. So that needs to come and play. We need to go and support the games. And we need our leaders to stop drinking us. Like our leaders need to stop drinking us. There's so many people in leadership positions that are just there by deco. You know, they're not really doing what they need to be doing and trying to help. You know, I always say that there's a lady who's sitting in a corporate company who's handling the portfolio for women empowerment or giving back. You know, they are pillars of community development or whatever it may be. She signs off that budget. You know, she decides which, campaign or where the money needs to go. And it's not going there. Nobody's coming here, to say, listen, I'm in charge of this department and this is what we want to do. We would like to sponsor this. Even just normal campaigns. You've got Always Ultra, you've got Nivea, you've got Cellular. I can literally just draw up a lot of, products that we have. Why not use the players to give them endorsement deals as brand ambassadors, for goodness sake? Have the face of this person on your bottle. You are advertising clothing. You are using models, clothing for athletes. Why not actually use an athlete on your billboard? It's more authentic. People can see a Linda and be like, that's Linda, people.
And that's true.
Jermaine.
Yeah,
Jermaine is always trending on social media these days. She can bring so much eyeball to your product. So it's things like that where we like people who are sitting in these positions are not doing what they need to be doing to close the conversation. The Proteas are doing so well. The netball girls are always doing so well. We are a very well-packaged group of ladies who are very talented, but nobody's actually doing something. So that's why I say people are just have blood on their hands because it's all looking and talking and nothing is implemented. And the people that probably have the passion and the gut to do it, financially, our pockets are not deep. There's only so much we can do.
And that's true. Like, even in life, one thing I've noticed, people who are willingly to give back, they usually, it's either they're, I'm sorry to say, it's either they're broke or
See broke, vele. See broke.
They have a lot of passion and a few money. And then those who need to give back, they have few passion and a lot of money.
Exactly. I don't know. Man. It's always set up like that.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another thing. We've spoken about women's football, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite. It's. I hope even corporates. I hope someone who's watching this can really feel. Cause me looking at you, I can feel your energy. You really want this. You're waking up every day. You're trying to do this. Yeah, but so talking about you waking up and always being in this vortex of women's football. If you were in what is it? I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong question. What is one myth about this football industry in women that you want to debunk? I'm not sure if I'm using the yeah.
There's lots, eh? But the myth that women in sports make lots of money, it's a myth, guys. They don't. They really don't. And, we sit on these platforms and I always know how I'm just putting my life in danger because some of the things I say, it's things that shouldn't be said. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like they have been conditioned to believe that this is how things should be for a very long time. They've lost their voices, most of them. And now you come up here and you want to talk about this and expose it to the people. Are you out of your mind? So it's always a scaring realization for me to say, however, if my day on earth had to come and, I had to pass over, I just wanted to know that she really tried the best that she could to expose as much as she can to try and bring a little bit of change for these women, because they're scared to speak up for themselves. They are terrified.
They're scared.
They're terrified. And I get it. I know why. Because if you are told by somebody that if you ever say anything, I will kick you out of this team, knowing very well that's your bread and butter, right? If you are earning something. And knowing that's what you're passionate about, you know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of people that have that backbone to say, actually, I'm choosing me. Kick me out if you want. And the person will go to the length of telling you that no other club will hire you. I will make sure of it that nobody else hires you. If the person tells you that we are doing the best that we can, this is all you deserve, and you will believe it. You know what I'm saying? So I would also keep quiet. Not me personally as Uches, because definitely not. But
obviously, yeah.
With them, putting myself in their shoes, it's hard for them to speak about some of these challenges that they go through and not vocalize it. And I speak to a couple of players that are like, I listened to what you said and I hope I find courage one day to speak on it, Not everybody was Portia. Portia will sit here, she'll tell you everything. I'll find the whole 411, I speak to Portia. I speak to her regularly and we just always talk about how we just need to speak up until they are ready. Because if we all keep quiet, then no one is talking about it. So those of us that are able to talk about it, let's talk about it until they are ready to talk about it, We saw with the whole situation Banyana that happened before they went to the World Cup. Yeah. That is the first time we saw a team unite together to say, we're not going to do this. No, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just hoping that they find it within themselves in the future to also speak on themselves, especially the senior ones. Because the young ones are not going to say anything. In fact, I just got my first collab, my first cap, and you want me to say no, or you want me to say this, it's not going to happen. Understand, I'll not say anything. But the senior ladies that have gone through it over and over again, the mental well-being of the athletes is in the gutters, in all honesty, for pretty much most of them. And I'm not speaking for all of them because I don't speak to all of them. But from the ones I engage with and I know, it's in the gutters. And no one really focuses on that, And we can't expect good results and medals and trophies and all of that when we are not taking care of our own. Yeah, it's a lie, my friend. It's a lie. So that myth, I don't know how we can squash it, but I just hope people just know this is what's up. And listen, I don't know if we can start a GoFundMe a charity account or something that just we all donate to just make sure that these girls are looked after.
So I want to ask you this question. What advice then would you give someone trying to pursue a career similar to yours?
Advice, okay. Oh, there's lots, eh? But firstly, you have to have thick skin.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to have thick skin.
Speaking the truth, guys, is very hard. Speaking the truth, it's so draining. So
you have to have thick skin. You have to understand that it looks easy on the outside. It is not. You will take bashing. You will take negativity. People you look up to, people that you believe were your mentors, not physical mentors, but there's people we watch grow and proceed and succeed in their careers, and we're like, that's my mentor. I want to be like them. And they talk down on you. So you need to know that when that happens, it doesn't crush you. Because can you imagine growing up, looking up to someone and you're rooting for them, and then you eventually engage with them to ask for advice and they tell you something so negative and it throws you off completely. Okay. So you need to know exactly what is your business. What do you want to establish? What are your objectives, in this industry? And do it because you're passionate about it. I'm telling you, you will never last in this industry if you're just doing it for money. You're just doing it for vibes. It's not going to work. You need to do it for passion, so that on those days when you are crying at night, because somebody said something that is so hurtful, because you had a really terrible day, you are not getting your lines right, because people just didn't receive you well, you know that I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. That is going to be your pulling mechanism to stick to what you're doing. But if you're doing it for vibes, my friend, you'll pack up and you'll leave immediately. So have thick skin, be passionate, learn, research, study, ask questions. Don't be embarrassed. Like I get me, I know everything, but don't be that person. Always be willing to learn. And understand that whatever you are delivering to people, whatever you are giving to people, there will still be some that are not for you. Like, you didn't even do anything to them. Why is it inherited beef? You're like, I don't even bother nobody. I'm such a nice person. But now you've got all this army of enemies that you don't even know where they come from. So if you focus on these kind of things, you're going to really have a tough time. Cass Naidu used to tell me all the time, block out the noise. It helps me all the time. The minute you start, block out the noise. Tunnel vision, focus on what you need to do, because you'll never be for everybody.
And talking about focus, I want to ask you this second last question. You're building something unique. You're one of the people on the ground that I know is working very hard to improve the football in our level. You've spoken about how we can start it from the ground. You've spoken about the management, which is very key. So with what you're establishing, and it's very key to represent the players and so forth, what is your dream? What is your dream? Like getting into a battle about starting this. When you're sitting down and you are in your own dimension, where do you vision this thing?
That's a very loaded question. My vision is to really create a safe space for women in sports. In cricket, in equestrian, in chess, in athletics, in football, anywhere. A safe space where this is, and I'm talking beyond the agency. I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, wait, I have a dream to build a village. You know Baroka Village? Nashorena. Something like that. But for the underprivileged kids that don't have access. There's so many kids, Kokasi, that want to explore these talents. But because the sports is not available, you don't have the training facility. You don't even, Baba Dlalang, Kosasole and Hollywood Bates, Habana Marobalo, they can't travel. There's a girl called Limpopo who's super talented, could really give a couple of players in the Hollywood Bates senior team a run for their money. How the hell she's going to get here? For trials and all of those kind of things. So build a facility where you can open a lot of doors. It's a residence for the kids and the players that don't have accommodation, cannot afford it, but are doing quite well. There's a training field. There's rehabilitation centers and stuff. Obviously, this is a big dream. I'm Vuyo at this point. But
Be full, you manifest.
you know,
manifest.
hopefully when I'm gone and my daughter, takes over the legacy, whatever the case is, that's something that could be built to ensure that the development of women's football is looked after, the development of women's cricket, of rugby and everything is looked after. HPC is doing the best that they can, but we need more facilities that can do that. So building that safe space for women, fighting for them, letting them know their rights, and making them understand a contract. Like a contract keep ampere with jargon, legal jargon that you must understand. This thing, you get a contract or you just sign your life away, must stop. And I need to make sure that with whoever I engage with, they know that it's okay for you to take your time. You're not giving me a contract and you're telling me to bring it later after training or tomorrow. You can't do that.
So that's why we need people like you. So this is happening.
It is happening.
Yeah, you speaking about it is happening.
It's happening. I've got players, okay, manager, contract, training. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? And I get the contract. It's as thick as your book. How is somebody supposed to go through a contract that thick and bring it by the end of the day without reading it or, and you read the contract, the jargon that they use. I'm like, please, let's look at the ladies we are managing or we're dealing with. Some of them haven't even finished matric. Some of them are in grade 11, they're in matric, they haven't gone to varsity. How are you expecting them to understand that in a couple of 5 hours? Even the things that you're writing there.
English.
I remember going to negotiate a contract and there was a he in the contract, him, a reference of a male. And I was like, what is this? They're like, no. This was a copy from the guys.
The man's thing too.
I would say drive the with this big, institute. I let's say legal draft the contract for our ladies. You just copy paste. You just change the names. You know what I'm saying?
That's wrong, man.
There were clauses that I was questioning. I was like, what is this? What is that? No, this can't happen. They're like, no, don't worry about this. It's not going to affect them. I'm like, if it's in the contract and my player's signature is on it, it's going to affect them. Because now, it's not going to be no, don't worry about it. It's going to be kisaine. You know what I'm saying? So just fix it. So there's a lot of things, they are very binding to the players, but they don't know. And there's clubs that are doing it right, Mamelodi Sundowns is one club I want to put as an example. Me being there, I've actually been exposed to a lot of professionalism when it comes to how
you deserve to be there, by the way.
Thank you.
You deserve to, because we are learning. I want you to be aware of it. We are running something very massive.
Yeah.
We are on a social media. It's a podcast, and we are doing them all in one.
Yes.
In one team that wants to see people like you more and more and more.
Exactly. They give opportunity. They're very professional. They paperwork. Like everything is just done to the T. And I don't think or not believe that these other teams can do it as well. JVW is another good example. They have this homely thing about them. And I think maybe the club is obviously run by Lauren and Janine, who was an ex-player. Perhaps having somebody who's played before, has the physical experience of what it feels to be a player also plays a huge role. But there's clubs like that which gives you a little bit of hope and a relief that some people are doing it right, But the rest of them need to come to the party, honestly, because we cannot keep doing this to our girls. Because I have a player I signed mid their contract, something happened, and our hands were tied because you've already agreed to this. You signed. Did you not see this? No, I did not see it. Why did you not see it? I didn't read the contract. Already that's problematic, So I just hope that with whatever engagement I do, my hope and goal, safe space, educating where I can, helping where I can. There's players I don't represent. They've got their own managers and agents. They will DM me. For me, it's not a thing of, no, you have to be managed by me in order for me to help you. I don't care if I don't manage you. I don't care if you were managed by me before and you left or whatever the case. I actually want more agents and more managers to come through to the party. The objective here is to do something with the player that's going to be beneficial for them. If a player wants a contract to be scrutinized and they contact me, they're like, I need this read over. Is this okay? Is this fine? I'll give them an answer for free. I will not give them a tough time, because you're educating them to know how to navigate around the spaces in future. They get to influence another person and so forth. So that our little ones, when they come up, it's a little bit easier for them. So I hope, like I said, there's too many goals I have in terms of what I want to do, but establishing those very important factors for me would be a start.
I wish we had a long conversation and just speak about these factors, because I know you love talking about these things, and you don't just talk because you have to talk. Like you said, you are passionate, you know your story. That's why people are listening to you. And I want to give you these flowers so that you can leave out here with the confidence that there are a lot of people watching. There are a lot of people like me who I learn a lot from you. All the time when I talk to you, even when I ask you for this, I've always made sure that you come in and you pull up, and how busy you are. It's something else. So I have one last question. You can be quick on this one, please. Why Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates are not having a women's team today?
I definitely cannot answer that, because I myself would like to know. Two big clubs that we know who are doing, fairly good, very popular also. Jessica has spoken about how it's in the pipeline. I'm like, my girl, I love you so much. But when is it getting there, Orlando Pirates also being such a strong household, we're expecting it to happen. There were conversations here and there with regards to some partnerships with UJ, or some partnerships with this club and this club. It needs to come alive, and I'm hoping. And listen, I want to get along with. I love coaches. I love other agents. I love chairmen. I love people that work in sports. Just because I'm an agent, I don't have to be an enemy of a coach because I came to take out a player, because I'm going to bring a player to you. Even as a chairman, I'm taking 2 players, I'll bring 3 more. This is how the business works, and as agents, there shouldn't be that competition. I'm going to take that player, or you should take we're helping them together. So I'm hoping with them as well, people in the technical spaces and all of that, they come on board. Pirates has Pirates Cup, which had an inclusion last year of women's team coming to play. It'd be nice to see them there. And I think, remember, first time I spoke about this, I said if we had a competitive league, average minimum payment, we would see. There's a Mamelodi Sundowns and a HAV and a Pirates and a Kaizer Chiefs and a UWC,
TS Galaxy,
UJ, TS Galaxy.
Trust me. And I always say, if Chiefs and Pirates can come into part, trust me.
Yes.
You see a derby of women.
Yes.
Just imagine. It's playing, even if it's Soccer City is fine, or Orlando Stadium, and it's so packed. Trust me, even young girls will be involved.
Of course.
And that's how, even, because I asked a question before the Women's World Cup and asked people, who is your favorite player? People struggle to know the players, and not because of Banyana, they don't know them. It's because they don't watch them frequently.
They don't watch them frequently. They don't see them. They don't,
so if they can see them all the time, and not trust me, not Deutsche Chiefs.
Exactly.
Now go to the stadium. It might all speak.
Yes.
I'll even create the history. So man.
We want a Telkom knockout. We want a Nedbank Cup. We want an MTN 8. It would be very nice to have those kind of tournaments as well for women.
So a message to a woman out there, especially a young girl that's playing football. What is an advice as your last words into the show? What is your advice, and what would you say to them, and what would be the motivation and positive words?
So, as cliche as it sounds, chase your dreams.
Yeah.
Chase your dreams, go for it. Don't listen to negativity. Don't entertain negativity. Chase your dreams, work hard, learn, study. If it's your dream, you're going to make it. And if it doesn't scare you, then make a bigger dream.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to Jester Studios for giving us a few minutes as well, because this has been an absolutely thrilling, what can I say? Is it a podcast? It is a podcast. And that's why we love it. And I hope you guys are going to continue liking and sharing our thing. Thanks to those who are following us on our pages. Thanks to those who are engaging as well. And yeah, man, thanks to my father. Thanks to my father. I'm wearing this because they made us proud.
Yes.
And I'm hoping we're going to continue. Olympics are coming. And the Lord is going to be coming this year. Let's support women's football. Let's support each other. And let's spread positive energy, man. Thanks a lot, Elsie.
Thank you very much, Selina.
Yeah,
Thank
been
you.
amazing.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.